Welcome back to another episode of AGP Quickies. With me today is Tyler, and we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 6. So, Tyler, give me your thoughts on Episode 6 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, so I thought it was kind of slow, man. I was like really excited because they're like Bryce Dallas Howard is directing this one, and she's done a great job with her other episodes. And then I feel like they just like handed her this nothing burger, and I was like, why? It's like a filler episode, which I don't think the Mandalorian should have any filler episodes. Like we're going with less episodes per season, no fillers. But I mean, I feel like it's inevitable. We're always going to get fillers because I don't know, because that's the
Yeah,
only.
I don't get it either, man. This I agree with your assessment. This was very much filler and just full of full of celebrity cameos just because they could. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Bryce Dallas Howard's previous episodes have been full of like nostalgia, right? Tons of nostalgia stuff, like being on Tatooine, going through the pod racing course, like the Naboo fighter, like all this stuff, right? And then she's just like, I don't know, she doesn't have any of that to work with in this episode. She's like, here's Jack Black though. Like, I don't know. Like, so
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was just,
I saw him on screen and, I grinned. I love Jack Black. So I'm like, oh, cool. But his character was dumb. Like they didn't really use Jack Black to his potential at all. Like he wasn't particularly funny. He didn't do anything really interesting. Neither did, Lizzo playing his wife. Like neither of them were very interesting characters. I just why did you bring them in for
I
this?
don't
It was
know. Maybe
just
maybe Jack Black was just like, I really want to be in Star Wars. Let me be in Star Wars, and they're like, I guess you can be this guy. I don't
and
know.
honestly, that might be it. Like I know Jack Black is supposedly going to be retiring from acting soon. At least that's what he said a while back. So maybe he's just like, I'll take anything I can so I can be in Star Wars, and then I'm going to just stop acting. Once he gets his last couple projects out from under him. I don't know. I just thought it was a waste, and I like the whole because it was like this detective episode, where they're solving a mystery. But with the runtime only being 44 minutes, and obviously, as we know, a lot of that being credits, it didn't take long to get to the answer. And so it didn't feel, I don't know, it just wasn't great. Like if I'm looking at like a show like Bones or, you know, any of those, shows that have a mystery of the week, a villain of the week, and you're spending your time trying to figure out the mystery, they're usually longer and the story is structured to be to basically cover that the entire time. And it just, I don't know, we got to the resolution pretty quick, and it was pretty darn obvious to me. Like they started looking into this. They met the security guy. He was bad mouthing all the citizens, and I shouldn't say the security guy. Christopher Lloyd, is the security guard, big actor, Doc Brown, But
Mhm.
the minute I saw him bad mouthing people, I'm like, oh, dude, this guy, he's responsible for this. And
What?
lo and behold, he was. And so I'm just thinking to myself, I've been watching some of the documentaries for the making of the Mandalorian recently, and they keep bringing up the fact that George Lucas said Star Wars is for kids, and it's always going to be for kids. And Dave Filoni agrees with that, and he's heavily involved. And I just thought, you know what? Maybe this episode is just one of those times where it's like, this is meant for kids, and I'm an adult, and I'm getting all up in arms about something that's really intended for children. Because I would not be surprised at all if my nephews and nieces who watched this with my brother tonight absolutely loved it and thought it was fantastic. I thought it looked cheesy and dumb, and the story was kind of boring. But
I mean, yes and no, right? Like, because, like, yeah, obviously George Lucas initially said that, and but the thing is that the kids that he was making Star Wars for are now the adults, So if it was for the kids at the time, we're now adults. And you also have shows like Andor coming out, and with them trying to, they've made an effort to make things, uh, you know, continuity wise be really good. Not perfect, obviously, but trying to keep that there, like that's not for kids. Like kids don't look at continuity issues and be like, oh, there's that, like that's not,
Yeah, yeah.
so I mean, yes and no, I guess. But I mean, the thing is, like, whether it's for kids or not, you don't need filler episodes with a short season.
Oh,
Um,
I agree with you.
yeah, I mean, so I don't know. It that doesn't really mean much to me. The the issues that I'm having is like the direction of the show just seems so aimless, like because there's no antagonist. Um, the protagonists of the show are just wandering around doing these like different quests. And I mean, it's cool. Like there's been some really cool action. Bo-Katan has really grown as a character and become like really likable. And there's been some really, really great things about it. I've enjoyed it. It's just kind of also feels weird. Like, what's going on here? And obviously, we know that the whole time Bo-Katan's been working on restoring her place as the leader of Mandalore. Right. But like she's always wanted that as much as she might like profess that she's not. That's what she wants. Right. So, I
Yeah.
mean, so it's just like an obvious progression, but at the same time, it is really starting to feel like Din is like taking a back seat, so do we really
Yeah, I
want
mean,
that?
I don't mind, honestly. The show's called The Mandalorian. He's not the only Mandalorian. So if it's going to focus on Mandalorians, I'm happy. I do want him in it, and I want him at as a main character. But if this season is more focused on Bo-Katan, which it has been, I don't mind that because he's still heavily involved. I also don't think I agree with you that it's an aimless story. I will say that this has been my least favorite season of the three, and it's not over. So maybe it's going to pay off so well that I'm going to love every second upon a rewatch. But so far, I'm less interested than I was in seasons 1 or 2. But I'm still interested. But like, there is a clear goal. They're trying to reunite Mandalore. But I also agree with you that it would be nice to have a protagonist because like Moff Gideon seems to maybe be that, but they teased at the end of episode 5 that he was busted from his prison transfer or whatever, and then this episode did nothing to pay that off. And so and if Moff Gideon is the villain, I also have an issue with that because he was the villain in season 1 and 2. Can we get somebody new? you know so I,
Yeah.
I have a big issue with that. But like, we're 8 minutes into this quickie, and we haven't even talked about the best part of the episode, which was the end. So I would like to gear us towards that, which is Bo-Katan approaches, her fleet of Mandalorians that she lost. They're like, you're not allowed to be here. We don't want you here. And she challenges the guy. Um, she wins, and then they still say, well, no one's going to follow you. You don't have the dark saber. And it was so satisfying to see that I was correct, and I think you agreed with me on this. The whole like Harry Potter style, where
Yeah.
where Din lost to that creature in episode 2 of this season. She came and saved him. She defeated the creature. Therefore, the dark saber is hers. I remember thinking in episode 2 in that moment, I'm like, why did he just take the dark saber back? It should be hers. And then, people online were debating about it, saying, no, that's not how it works. They have to fight each other. There has to be a ritual challenging. And I'm like, no, because Din won it from Moff Gideon. There wasn't like a challenge. And anyway, I was glad to see that she got it because she was given the dark saber in Rebels, and then they introduced this idea that you have to win it in combat in the Mandalorian, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that, which felt like a retcon to me. But then I thought, okay, so that's why she failed to reunite Mandalore. She had the dark saber when Sabine gave it to her in Rebels, but she didn't win it, and so everyone's like, no, that's not yours. So now she's finally won it, and I think she's going to officially be able to, you know, unite everybody, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Maybe that's what the next 2 episodes are going to show us, is a united Mandalore.
Yeah, I mean the dark saber is essentially the Elder Wand.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, here's the other question though: is that we still don't really know, right? Like, how did Moff Gideon get the dark saber from Bo-Katan in the first place? You know,
Yeah.
did he even get it back from Bo-Katan? Because like, it could be a situation where her people were like, that saber's not yours, it's Sabine's. So maybe she gave it back to Sabine and Moff Gideon got it from Sabine.
I've
Um,
always assumed that he got it because he was part of the assault on Mandalore, and I always assumed that, in that assault, that Bo or whoever had the dark saber at the time lost it, and he claimed it at that point.
yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
could be
you
wrong.
just that's gonna be, if that's her claim to Mandalore, that's gonna be like her most protected possession. It just seems weird that he would get that from her without, taking her down or, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but
Yeah, I'm
it
I'm
just
just
doesn't
seeing a
seem.
world where she's like fighting stormtroopers. She has the dark saber out. A bomb blows up in front of her. She goes flying, drops the thing. Like, that's kind of like where my mind goes with it. But who knows? Who knows how she
Yeah,
actually lost it?
yeah. I just feel like she would be instantaneously like, her only thought is like, get that back, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it could work out that way. I just think that would be lamer. I don't know.
Well, and I agree that is lamer, but at the same time, I also don't need them to tell me that backstory. I mean, it would be interesting. I wouldn't mind hearing that story of how Moff Gideon ended up with it. Um, but I'm less interested in that and more interested in seeing how she reunites Mandalore. And can we get
Well,
the
if it
Death
has
Watch to
something
take
to
their
do
helmets
with
off?
if it has something to do with Sabine, though, I mean,
Yeah.
that that makes more sense, and it makes it more interesting, and makes it more of like, well, okay, now I really do want to know what happened.
Yeah, and I am hoping Sabine shows up in this season. The more I think about it, I'm like, Sabine belongs in this show. She's a huge figure in the Mandalorian lore, and she's alive, so bring her in.
And I want to see her blow stuff up. Like the Mandalorians are all like,
Graffiti and all of that, yeah.
yeah, and they're like, all the Mandalorians are fighting all these pirates, and I'm like, okay, not single one of you has a thermal detonator. What's going on? Like, what the heck? Where's Sabine? Blow stuff up.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Demolitionist for sure, man. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap this one up. It was nice talking to you. Overall, I enjoyed episode 6. Well, I thought it was okay. I really enjoyed the end. But that's gonna do it for us on this episode of AGP Quickies. So never underestimate the value of a quickie.